Hello and welcome. A user on Reddit asked me to make gameplay videos of the two top destroyers, the Shimakaze and the Aerroon. I set out and recorded some footage and I got a pretty good Shimakaze game. The Shimakaze is obviously the fastest ship in the game. It is a destroyer that mainly excels with torpedoes. She has 3x5 torpedo tubes, which means that she can fire up to 15 torpedoes at once. The downside is that the torpedo reload rate is pretty slow, over 2 minutes, but well, if you can take out a battleship in that time, it is well worth the time. Her guns are pretty mediocre, but they are still useful. The main gripe I have with them is that they are, well, slow. They can't turn very well. I started out in this game by going to the middle to try to hit the usual line that battleships form at the back on this map to when they're sailing just around. Usually you can hit at least one battleship with these torpedoes, and well, that is very worth it. But in this case, Benson detected the torpedoes early, but he was very unlucky because he sailed right into them and well died. On the other hand, this means the torpedoes were detected and the battleship can easily avoid them. Also, I was detected, which means that I am in a lot of danger because there are lots of ships around and I am in range of all of them, and people like shooting at destroyers a lot. Luckily, almost nobody shot at me and I managed to hit the enemy Fletcher pretty hard. Also, it seems the North Carolina didn't notice the torpedoes coming in and still got hit. So now that I have used my smokescreen already, it's pretty dangerous to stay around here and I'm going to fall back. On the other hand, staying in the middle is sometimes a good idea for a team, because if destroyers are sailing around in the middle and not getting hit by the torpedoes, then they are detecting the torpedoes for their team, which means the battleships in the backlines can much more easily avoid them, if they're paying attention, of course. So that's something I like to see when I play battleships myself. But in this case, well, I can't stay in the middle because it's going to be too dangerous. A Fletcher in a one-on-one situation often can kill a Shimakaze. And the same goes for a Aerroon, of course. I noticed the North Carolina is pushing in, so I'm firing torpedoes that should hit him when he comes around the island. Of course, he could just turn away anywhere from here to then, which means the torpedoes will just miss. Right now, I want to take out the Fletcher that was low HP, but it's kind of dangerous, so I am going back and forth waiting for my smoke to cool down so I can push in. I jumped to the torpedoes but noticed that there are torpedoes incoming on my own, and well, it's more important to stay alive than watch what your torpedoes are doing. Also, that North Carolina is pretty unlucky, getting hit by the torpedoes over and over again. But it goes to show that paying attention is very important, even in a battleship. Actually, especially in a battleship. You must never tunnel vision in a battleship, because if you get into a bad position, it is very difficult to get out of. But anyways, enough about battleships. The main thing I like about the Shimakaze is her speed, and I think that her guns are good enough to put up a good fight against the Aerroon. Of course, if both of them were equally skilled, a Gering should win. But the guns on the Gering are so weak, as in they break so easily, that often a Shimakaze will just come out on top. So I found the Fletcher again and I'm trying to finish him off. One thing I dislike about destroyers is how easily things break. I just shot one volley at the Fletcher and I did critical damage. That means I broke some module on his ship in just one volley. And often when you get hit, it's either the engines or your guns that get broken. Very rarely is it anything else. And sometimes it can be that you take 3 volleys in a row and each volley will destroy your engine, which means that your repair will be down and your engine will still be destroyed, which means you're a sitting duck for a good 90 seconds. That's when smoke is really useful. So right now my torpedoes have reloaded. I am relatively healthy, all my guns are up, my team is pushing, so I decide that I want to shoot torpedoes at the North Carolina. Although the lead indicator shows that, well, I am likely to hit him, but if he turns, I might not, and it seems he's trying to go behind the big island, which means he's turning. But I found the Fletcher again and got an easy kill now.
Smoke generator started.
Also, I used the smoke because I noticed the Colorado coming in, which means that, well, if the Colorado starts firing at me, I could die in essentially one volley. And, well, I'd like to not die. Right now what I'm doing is standing still. If you stand still in a smoke in any ship, you are not detected even if you fire your guns or your anti-air or even your secondaries. So I did that and waited for the Colorado to come out of the smoke so I can fire at her and try to kill the Colorado. Well, not kill. I'm unlikely to do that because my guns just don't deal enough damage. But at least try to deal quite a bit of damage and maybe set the Colorado on fire. Although I see a New Orleans coming in, which could be a bit dangerous because there's also a destroyer near me that could detect me, but the destroyer is low HP, so hopefully it's an easy kill. Yeah, in this match my team just seemed quite a bit stronger and we're winning pretty handily. I start moving because I'm afraid that the destroyer might have shot torpedoes into the smoke, and if I'm standing still while the destroyer has shot torpedoes, then by the time I detect them I usually don't have enough time to be able to dodge them. The New Orleans could kill me if he was going to fire at me, but he isn't, only the secondaries are. And so the torpedoes will take him out, although I imagine that if I even hadn't shot the torpedoes, my teammates would have finished the job for me. That's why I fired the third volley of torpedoes at the battleship instead, hoping to catch him, but that's very unlikely. But I mean, you will miss every shot you don't take, so at this point we're just wrapping up the game. The battleship, or the Colorado, is going to die for sure, and there's only a Des Moines and I think an Ibuki left, and they are very far away from this part, so there's going to be some sailing to be done. But because they are so far away, that also means that they can't actually fire at my team really, other than that one ship that's there. And that's actually pretty curious because the Des Moines is a very serious threat to my team, or well, was if he was alive when the rest of his team was alive, or well, if he was in combat. But he wasn't. He was sailing around the big island for no reason for like half the game, and just meant that my team that was everywhere else could just fight his team without having to worry about being hit by the Des Moines, and that just gave us an advantage. And since the odds were already stacked against them, that gave us, or well, that led to the current situation. Although if we want to purely win, it would be useful to just cap and finish it, but because we have won by such a large margin, you get more EXP if you finish off the ships, so we just want to kill them instead. I want to fire torpedoes at the Des Moines, but I'm afraid if I turn left, then I will very quickly get in the Hatsuharu's territory and could hit him with my torpedoes instead. So I turn right and will fire some torpedoes at him that I don't think will really hit because the Des Moines is angled towards me. But I mean, I have no other use for these torpedoes, so I'll just fire 2 volleys and 1 volley at the Evoke, but I won't fire exactly where the indicator is because I think the Evoke will start turning away because our whole team is coming, and you shouldn't show your broadside in a cruiser to the enemy team. I noticed I was going to hit the island, so I used smoke immediately, because if you aren't moving in the smoke, you aren't detected, and if you hit an island, you stop moving. That means at that moment you will immediately disappear for the enemy, although obviously they know where you are because you hit the island. You can't have turned away or anything like that, but it makes aiming a lot harder. So now I backed off, and well, we'll finish off the Ibuki. In terms of Shimakaze against the Goering, I think the Shimakaze might actually be better. I mean, right now I think the Goering is better because the Goering has still has the 20 shots per minute, but Wargaming wanted to nerf that, and they actually did, but they forgot to actually nerf the guns themselves. They only changed the numbers that it shows, but the guns still fire at the same rate. And right now I think the Goering is stronger, but they are obviously going to fix that at some point, and then I think the Shimakaze is better because the Goering's guns just break too easily. And as we can see, I did quite a bit of damage. Although 100,000 isn't that much. It's above average, but since I got 6 kills, I guess it makes sense because a lot of them were destroyer kills. Well, anyways, I would appreciate it if you could leave some feedback in the comments. And if you would like to see more videos, it would be a good idea to subscribe. Also, if you want to see some specific ship class played, then mention that in the comments as well. Thanks for watching.